Hello from Cape Town. This is the Urbanist. If you want to see how the white privilege looks like in the post-apartheid South Africa, well, this is one of the images. In the most wealthy part of Cape Town, where predominantly white people live, right next to the beautiful ocean, exclusively black working class people are waiting to go back to their homes at the periphery of the city, who enjoy the city and who works for the enjoyment of those people is very clear.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Uncle P with another episode of Uncle P's podcast. Guys, it's a hectic one. It's a lot's happening in the country. I don't even know if I should laugh, cry, scream, shout, or fight. Running away is not an option. But my problem is how this whole Chidima thing showing up the way it showed up is not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence at all. Because first of all, the Chidima thing allowed certain things to happen at Home Affairs that the DA was really trying to push. I'm beginning to feel like the Chidima story is a distraction every time something is happening. Right now, we need to deal with Afriforum. What they did is treason. I don't care what anybody says. Somebody asked me if I know the definition of treason. Yeah. You can read by yourself, since you think we can't afford or we don't know how to Google or do research. Chidima being in the country is an insult to the South African law and system. I mean, the Hawks, how are we ever going to take the Hawks serious? Technically, I never took the Hawks serious since the whole Thabo Bester story. There's a lot that has happened. The G4 bombings and everything. Guys, there's a lot happening. But I wanted to remind Afrikaners who are now calling black people racists where all this started. I want to remind them, I'm 37 years old. 31 years ago, this was the reality in South Africa.
I didn't want to wait until June 16 and Sarafina movies to remind you guys where we come from, yeah? No African may buy land or own property anywhere in the Republic. Land expropriators without compensation and you are against it, let me remind you, no African may buy land or own property anywhere in the Republic of South Africa. This is not more than 30 years ago, these rules. So the 8% of white people that own 80% of the land in our country, who did they buy it from for them to want to be compensated for that land back? Who did they buy it from? Because I'm pretty sure it's not you. The same person that was excluded from conversations when Afrikaans and English people were distributing land amongst themselves. You were not allowed to partake in that conversation. Why? Because no white man may teach an African servant how to read. So they didn't buy this land from you. And I'm pretty sure that God does not get paid in rands, dollars, or pounds and euros. So they didn't buy it from him either. And even if we were to buy it, under no circumstances may an employer pay Africans the same rates as white persons, even if they do the same work and work the same hours. Meaning that you as a black person lifting up a bag of cement in monetary value, it's not equivalent to another white person lifting that same bag of cement for the same amount of time that you're lifting it up. It's not the same. In today's money, guys, today's research, an average white...
So white people, did you forget about that? Drinkers, did you forget about that? You're old enough. I'm sure your parents told you about this. I'm sure they were teaching you about this. You see, your problem is you guys use very naive reasons for your argument. This is what you guys are scared of.
Kill the Boer! Kill the Boer! Oh my god, they want to kill the whites! No, Elon. Boer is a reference to Dutch colonizers who came to colonize Africa beginning in the 17th century. This is part of South African heritage, the fact that they've been colonized by Europe. I mean, entire books have been written about what European colonizers did to Africa for 4 centuries, not least of which was the transatlantic slave trade. No, they want to genocide the whites! We should arrest them all! This is akin to someone saying kill the Nazis and you being like, no, they're saying kill the Germans! Oh my god, another woke moralist. Come to think of it, you yourself are part Dutch and your family moved to South Africa because of the wonderful opportunities that the apartheid state state could offer white people. What you're doing is a crime. I am the victim. Elon, you are the richest human in history, and that is largely due to the fact that your starting point in life was as a white male from a rich, affluent family living in apartheid South Africa, where you had the white minority stealing the land of the black indigenous majority and subjugating them as second-rate citizens. This injustice will not stand.
This is how all of you sound. And I want to thank this brother, Wrathbone Backup, for this video, because it really defines exactly what these Afrikaans people are. It was not long ago that you people still talk like this. I want you guys to remember, it's not that you guys are talking like this now. It's always how you guys were. But because of the good-hearted people that black people are, not just South Africans, but black people in general, we forgave and tried to live with you guys. But you guys never wanted to live with us. You wanted to be your own Lesotho. Lesotho is South Africa. They probably once upon a time were also making as much noise as you are. As much noise as you are. And South Africa is like, okay, for tech, bam, bam, bam. That's what you guys are hoping for.
We are the Boers. We are a very proud nation. We are the white tribe of Africa. And we are here to show the people today. We're going to make our stand in this country. There's certain parts of this country that is our parts.
There's certain parts of this country that is yours. Let me remind you guys the past one more time.
So I grew up in apartheid South Africa as a English-speaking white boy. I only became politically conscious when I was already 18 years of age, because prior to that, I had been subjected to and sucked in this incredible propaganda of victimization of the white people, where every piece of news, every message we were getting, every joke, the butt of every joke was the stupidity of the black man, the inability of the black man to look after himself, never mind the country, to be ignorant, uneducated, break everything he touched. The messaging was that all violence was black violence, that all crime was black crime, that you had to fear black people. And a huge amount of that fear was that if we let them into the political process, into the governance of the country, that they would do to us exactly what we had done to them for decades, which would be to turn around and oppress us, to murder us, to take our stuff, to move into our houses. It was a very popular story that the ANC, prior to the 94 election, when it was still an illegal organization and Nelson Mandela was still in jail, and the armed wing was exiled to Zambia and Mozambique, Umkhonto weZizwe, was that they promised all of our domestic servants that those servants would be given the house they worked in when the ANC ruled. And these stories were told amongst the...
Imagine those lies. They told them that if the ANC took power, the helpers that were working in those houses of the white people, those houses would become theirs. Those were the lies that they were telling their children. Those are the lies that Drikas grew up with. That's why he thinks the way he thinks, like an empty head. You see, I keep telling people that the Afrikaners' biggest fear is not that their culture is going to be eradicated. It's not that South Africa does not want Afrikaners here. Their biggest fear is that their children are falling in love with being African. Their children are falling in love with the culture of Africa. And they can't have that. One thing that I know because of my surrounding and the people that I hang around with, one thing that I know, Afrikaans white girls love themselves than black brothers. They love themselves than black brothers. And this is their fear. Their fear is not that their culture is being lost. Their fear is that associating with us black people is allowing their children to realize that we're not as bad as they are claiming. We are not the people that they are claiming. This is what they don't want. I'm going to mute the sound, but this is what they don't want. they are against us. You see. And they are not only against that. The people who are claiming to be oppressed, this is how they live.
You know, I'm walking around in the location and I'm really lonely. And I feel like this is what's wrong with South Africa. You're just a white man looking for friends. Everyone's looking away from me. Oh, this is the Mlungu. No one's like, oh, yes, the Mlungu. Mlungu, let's be friends with them. No one's like that. No one wants to be friends.
They leave them alone, guys. When people see white people, they just leave them alone. They avoid them. They want to integrate themselves. This new generation of Afrikaners, they want to integrate themselves with black people. And these racist old men, they are still worried.
President Donald Trump just signed an executive order with two goals. The first, to freeze all financial aid to South Africa. The second, to promote the resettlement of Afrikaners in the United States, to escape the draconian policies of the South African government. The Afrikaners of Orania take note of this development, and we are very thankful, specifically for the urgency with which this was tackled in regards to land expropriation and expropriation of property without compensation. However, our plea can be summarized in 3 words. Help us here. Not necessarily with US tax dollars, but with the recognition of our legitimate pursuit. That is the pursuit of Afrikaner self-determination in an autonomous region. Recognizing us as an ethnic people leads to a conclusion, and that is that the only sustainable option for Afrikaners is an autonomous area. The South African government even signed this as the Afrikaner Accord on Self-Determination in the 1990s, which states that Afrikaner self-determination is a legitimate pursuit. Our highest ambition is not to be resettled or relocated. Our highest ambition is freedom. We ask the White House to recognize this, and we also extend that wish to all other nations. With the grace of God and the help of our friends, this can be made possible. Thank you very much.
I want to remind you guys the words of your own leader. I'm your boy Uncle P, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Please watch this.
This is my last message addressed to the people of South Africa. I, without qualification, apologize for the pain and the hurt and the indignity and the damage that apartheid has done to black, brown and Indians in South Africa. I do so not only in my capacity as the former leader of the National Party, but also as an individual. My conversion, to which I refer, didn't end with the admission to myself of the total unacceptability of apartheid. It motivated us in the National Party to take the initiatives we took. From the time that I became leader of the National Party, and more specifically during my presidency. The road forward is a difficult one. But I firmly believe that if we take hands, and if all the reasonable people in South Africa put their heads together, we can overcome the challenges we face, and we can fulfill the tremendous potential that South Africa has.